Welcome to AstroPsych. Thanks for joining me. Today is June 24th, 2026. It's 12:30 p.m. And I'm going to be talking to you today about the recent ingress of Chiron, the wounded healer, into the fixed Earth, Venetian-led zodiac sign of Taurus, who also rules in the lower nighttime part of the chart in house 2, which is known as a house of money, a house of security, a house of comfort, a house of great creative energy. And it is Earth after all, so it has to do with very practical energy. So we'll be diving into that today as we take a little bit deeper look at the layers of what Chiron in Taurus is trying to speak to us and what this means for us collectively for the next 8 years. So Chiron, like I said, ingressed into the sign of Taurus after being in Aries for quite a very long time. Chiron, the wounded healer, is known as asteroid comet 2060. So I find it interesting. It reduces to an 8, and the 8th house is the house of astrology. And the 8th house is the house of psychology and the house of death. And therefore, the house of life and transformation, the house of renewal, the house of other people's resources and money. So it's a house highly concerned with wills, estates, taxes. It also has to do with where we have to look at how we relate to the deeper hidden realms of this earth that are not seen with the naked eye, even though the 8th house is a daytime chart, daytime part of the chart in the 8th, where we come above the horizon. It's where your psychology comes out and is seen in the world, okay? But we know that what drives our psychology is really our subconscious mind. For 95% of our behavior is like that iceberg in the water. Only the tip is showing, and the bottom, the subconscious, what's not seen as readily by us, is the 95% underneath that water. So we have to dig a little bit, spend some time in the darker spaces of the psychological nature that we carry in regards to how we relate to society and the rest of the world. Now, that's just one piece of the chart that shows this, but Chiron, the wounded healer, he is considered the part of our life in his mythology where he got wounded that is not easily healed, and actually isn't healed for most of his life upon the earth. He lived to be 900 years, and he lived with a very painful wound for a very long time. So consequently, you could say he learned how to deal with pain. He didn't live without pain. He had a wound that was incurable, and no matter what he tried to do, that wound could not be healed. Now, this is a trans-Neptunian object in a centaur, which is important to note here. He's within the Kuiper belt, orbiting between Saturn, which represents our boundaries and our limitations, and Uranus, where we, like the rebel, move around Earth in ways unseen, kind of different and unusual, on our side, cannot be seen with the naked eye. It slips past the boundaries of the first 7 planets, which were the traditional planets, because they were able to be studied and seen. When we start going out into these newer planets that are discovered, or newer objects that are discovered, it's much later along the timeline. November 1st, 1977, Charles Cole found and discovered this asteroid comet. And so the symbology is a key. And it's actually upside down like this. So it's important to notice. Looks like a key standing for coal, right? But there's also a lot more there with that symbology, than is seen with the naked eye. The wounds here that you have in your life that are very difficult to heal, that continually come up in your life as a nuisance, this thing in your life that you have looked and searched perhaps to try to get rid of, or cope with, or medicate, or run away from, or deny, all these things we do. It is a key for you to look at your Chiron regarding number 8, asteroid comet 2060, the 8th house of Scorpio, where we fix. Unlike Taurus, led by Venus, we fix our Mars and our Pluto, okay, and water, which feels and senses and knows at the deepest layers what the hell is going on with your psychology and your mindfulness and the way that you approach life and the way you speak to people in your life. The 8th comes right after that 7th. We must see this coming out from our relationships, and we are then engaging with the world. What's that looking like? Look to your 8th house. Look to your Chiron, and you will see a lot of keys, clues, and doors that once you study this wounded healer door, key will open for you. So in this video, what I'm going to do is examine and break down the multi-layer symbology and astrological dynamics of Chiron in the sign of Taurus, not Aries. We've left Aries, although it will retrograde back, yes it will, and dip right back into Aries until 2027. But first, we have this ingress. So we'll look at his historic shift through Aries a little bit, his brand new transit into Taurus, which occurred June 19th, and how his footprint and themes map across the 12 zodiac houses. So if you stick around for your sign or timestamp it forward, whatever you want to do, you'll see your sign is there with the chart, where I also take a look not only at the transits, but I look at the light and the shadow themes. I am someone that tries to look at the darker themes that might be holding you back, the shadow, the things that perhaps you're not seeing as clearly. Bring them up and out into the light of day where we can look at them and we can, I would say, tackle them, come up with a plan, take a look at these things right in the face and start talking about them with authenticity, because I think that that's a real word that comes up with Chiron for me as I've studied him now for years, is it demands that you face the truth. And wherever we face the truth, we must have esse quam videre, which is to be rather than to appear, where we must truly see the state of things. Now, let me share with you that this wound occurs at a very young age, and there's different authors, different opinions, but I see it occurring during childhood, before you're an adult. I would say before the veil falls off and we come into this consciousness where we no longer are in fairyland, so to speak, with our consciousness. The brain takes a step forward around the age of 7 and 8 and pulls you into a reality that you've not quite experienced before. This occurs before those years. So it is part of the way that you emotionally chose to regulate the traumatic experience. It set patterns that neurologically your brain relies upon, pathways that you have built that then come out into everyday life from that event. And so it very much has to do with trauma. And you might say, well, I had a great childhood. I didn't experience any trauma. it's still this position. It's going to be a place where you'll see, if you read into it and you study, that there's some ouches there, and there's some next times and some opportunities of how you can begin to use that energy for a more healthier, better way in your daily relationships. Because remember, Scorpio deals with that 8th house of all the unseen, and Chiron is the wound that lay in our subconscious mind that perhaps we cannot see. And if this looks good, it absolutely does. Let me give a pitch. Please drink vitamin C water. Please make your own. A lot of these that you buy in the store, the fruit's old. They're made of natural flavors, artificial flavors. This is chamomile tea with cloves. It's also has fig leaves in it, oranges, lemons, and fleabane. Now, I talked about this during the summer solstice post that I put up in my short that we just recently experienced on Sunday, which was also Father's Day, which was also Cancer season. So that's what this is. I've been drinking this all week. It's been absolutely amazing. But please take care of your bodies. Remember, it's body, mind, soul here. It isn't just your mind and what you're thinking. It isn't just your body and how it's feeling. And it isn't just your soul and all the stuff you're dealing with from your past incarnations that you're cleaning up this lifetime in this avatar. It's a combination of looking at how we treat our minds, how we treat our bodies, how we treat our souls, how we speak over our bodies. But yeah, it is holistic. We are not just our minds, not just our bodies, not just our souls. So can't emphasize that enough. Start to look at life that way. That's a tip. And you will begin to be like, wow, if I eat a whole big bowl of ice cream at 10 o'clock at night, that's probably not a good choice. And we know why that is. We have to get back into this connection with our bodies. And that is exactly what we're going to see as Taurus is now stepping onto stage right. He's coming in, having come out of the Aries costume, and Taurus is coming in as the wounded healer. So I'm going to look at this finger of God aspect pattern that's also showing up and occurring. That's very important for you to see. So this video provides an overview of Chiron. I'm not going to go much deeper than that, and I assume that the average viewer here has a basic understanding of Chiron and his themes. If you're interested in a much deeper dive, my friend Anthony and I have done a full Chiron episode on our channel, All Things Esoteric Podcast on YouTube, episode 25, recorded April 26, 2024. And back then when I did the beginnings, I did an overview of the then current general USA and world astrological themes. So if you want, you can listen to it because it'll bring you back to that time frame if you want to. But you can fast forward to 37.5 minutes, and that's where we begin Chiron. So yeah, look for that. So let's go into these layers now of Chiron, the wounded healer. And it is a minor planet asteroid, half man, half animal asteroid that we're dealing with here. And it deals with our deepest core existential vulnerabilities and the places where we feel fundamentally broken, rejected, or not enough, or where we overcompensate. Because you'll often see people that put on a big show and a big act, really, they're very fearful and scared inside. We see this in the bullies around the communities that we live in and the people that we interact with in life. So there's a paradox here, a sacred paradox, because Chiron was a healer. He was trained by Apollo. He was trained to know astrology, magic, mystical arts, all medical training, all physical healing, all alchemical healing. He also created, he was involved in the arts of singing, poetry, dance, writing, all of this. And he was very, very knowledgeable and a master. So think about this. He had a wound in his thigh from the Hydra blood arrow of Hercules that accidentally hit him. In the animal instinct part of his body, he could not heal this, even though he was a master. So he had to learn how to live and work with his pain. And it's in the process of sitting with the pain, examining the pain, exposing the pain, where we can gain this profound mastery over our lives and that which is harming us and debilitating us, like that leg and that thigh. That, he couldn't, obviously, with that wound, there's no way he could participate in perhaps the way other centaurs did in life. He also was born out of a very violent attack. So go into the mythology. We go into that, not doing that here. But when he was born, he was extremely rejected by his mother. And we have rejection wounds here and spaces in our heart where others perhaps have not seen us in the true light of who we are. And man, I identify with that. I have had this happen to me, and it is very, very, very painful. I have Chiron in Pisces in the 5th house, and that's Leo's house where the sun is shining. When you have the wounds there, you have an inability to really shine and bring your creative arts. It's a highly creative house of fixed fire, of coming out in your fire and your true authenticity. Fire is authentic as fuck. Fire is authentic. If you know an Aries, if you know a Leo, or you know a Sagittarius, these are real people. All the fire signs, the Dharma houses, they're on a mission. They have a mission in life. They're going places. And so we see this in Pisces. We see in the 5th an inability perhaps to, it's trining Neptune on my 1st. So an inability maybe at first in life due to the large amount of addictions around me. And that was true. My father was an alcoholic. And Neptune stands for addictions. And I was literally born in my physical body and space out of a portal that lived with an alcoholic. Like, it's a literal manifestation in the sky. And then when it's trining, thank goodness it's offering support for me in the 5th house. That Leo sun, wherever my Leo is going to help me. And I have Leo. I'm a Scorpio ascendant, and I have it in the 10th house in Mercury. So, like, it's up there on the midheaven, right on the midheaven, helping me out. And I see how this wouldn't also be seen for quite some time, which leads me to talk about the 50-year cycle of Chiron. He orbits the sun every 50.45 years. So he comes back and returns after 50 and a half years about. Because its orbit is highly elliptical like Pluto, it spends an unequal amount of time in each sign, and it lingers in signs like Aries and Taurus for up to 7 to 8 years, while passing through signs like Virgo or Libra in just 1 to 2 years. So at this return, there's a profound, it either incites you to begin to understand this at deeper levels and put you down this healing path like now or never, or this is how I've seen it work out, or you're just really restored at that point, and you've gone through this 50.45 years of life, and you've learned a lot of lessons at that point. You've gone through a lot of transits, you've gone through a lot of squares and oppositions, and you've been able to manage those inner planets for many cycles, many signs, and many turnings of the wheel. So by 50.45, you should either begin to have a maturity to begin to handle really looking at Chiron, or you should be done with that cycle. For me, all of this return occurred when we were looking at Neptune going into Pisces for 14 years. And I have a Pisces Chiron. So Neptune in my Lord, that's the Lord of that house there helping me. That was huge for me. And I began to do a lot of metaphysical, naturopathic, and wellness career trajectory change. I was serving as a financial advisor. I had worked in banks, and I left all of that and had this second, I would say, awakening, sacred awakening. And it all coincided with me healing this Chiron and going into mindfulness, where I got my master's, and then going into, Reiki first and then mindfulness. Like, I took 3-4 years to get those certifications. And that just really transformed so much about my life. And then I began to be able to use these modalities in powerful ways, began to help people and serve people with their own mental health. And then I enrolled in the PhD program and got a naturopathic psychology degree from the Kingdom College of Natural Health, where I finished that up this January. And now I'm in a place where it's like I'm using all of this as a sharpened tool, because I took the time to identify and heal. Now, everyone's journey might not take as long as mine did, but I did have complex trauma. I lived with my abusers. Some of my abusers I didn't, but it went on in my life for many, many years. So like I never got away from this instability and really not knowing what to expect in my house. And it put my nervous system on this high alert all the time of vigilance in making sure that I was safe. And then at times, because I wasn't as spiritual at all, I wasn't awakened the way that I am now. Not that I'm all that, but because I wasn't awakened, I just made poor decisions. I want to tell you also, with this transit over the next 8 years, please understand that we cannot heal what we reject. If we're shaming ourselves, speaking down over our hearts and our minds and our auras and our bodies and other people, and all this negativity is always coming out of our mouths, I got to tell you, you're going to see that come back to you. And you have to understand what it's like to live here on earth and the elements that you're working with. This isn't woo-woo. This is Tesla. This is his studies, and Einstein, and now the multitude of studies that we see where we're understanding that energy is interacting with us from above to below through the whole entire universe. And this is undisputed. Maybe you haven't heard about it, but I encourage you to go down the road and start to understand what's happening here in 2026, especially with the shift of the outer planets now all in fire and air. And what this is doing, when we look at where this asteroid sits, it's between Saturn and Uranus. It's trying to bring us out towards Uranus, towards the space where we see what hasn't been seen, in these ways that we moved our energy around in ways that stem from unhealed wounds of childhood. So Chiron and Aries, let's strip this down for a moment in the archetype of Aries and just look at that layer before I bring Taurus into the picture. Aries was cardinal, right? Cardinal fire ruling the first house. An angular house, therefore an active house, 1, 4, 7, 10. Anything happening on those houses are moving, are saying and waving a flag. These are going to be more important houses to look at. So we were there with the wound of I am, the wound to the self, the very self of identity, and being able to project your energy out in a courageous way, in a fearless way. Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is our passional energy, our fertility, our way, our blood, and the way that we move our visceral power around in our body in exchange upon the planet. So much more to these layers, okay? I could talk about Mars for a half an hour, but time is of an essence here. I have a lot to cover, and I'm just trying to get you to start looking a little closer at this archetype and maybe take the time to take a look at your own chart and where this shows up in the transits, especially now as we're seeing it at 00 degrees. Very potent degree here. Out of the 29 of Aries, out of this chaotic anaric degree that didn't know how to function, into now a solid 00, the Fool, beginning a new journey. Important to see that. Incidentally, let me just say this quickly about Aries. He definitely is very pioneering and wanting to go out in new paths of discovery that empowers others to find their strength. People miss this sometimes about Aries, and I think their hearts get hurt over it, or they never admit it. But, Aries is a caring sign, a deeply caring sign. It's an angled sign. It has to do with movement. And you say, yeah, it cares about itself. It must, because it knows the way to go. It's the god of war here that is an actionated, moving. People who are warriors know how to move their energy. They've disciplined it. Do you see this? So it's the areas in your life that you've had your sovereign right, Aries Chiron, to show up into the world as a human, and we've been healing that, and we've been saying, look, here I am. I'm going to show up thin, I'm going to show up fat, I'm going to show up white, I'm going to show up dark, I'm going to show up brown, I'm going to show up with blue hair, I'm going to show up with blonde hair, I'm going to show up with tattoos, I'm going to show up with no tattoos, I'm going to show up as a lesbian, I'm going to show up as straight, I'm going to show up as loving God, I'm going to show up as loving Wicca, I'm going to show up, like, you have seen this coming out of identities, and especially with the advent of AI, which came while Chiron was in Aries. Important to see this individual pioneering energy where we're seeing so many people that we never saw before show up and come out. All right, so reclaiming a healthy self-assertion, a healthy self-esteem. You've got your new paths you need to go on, and you're empowering other people. Very important. As no man is an island, we affect each other, and we can't escape that accountability. People that try to escape that accountability have a very difficult time on earth, okay? It's really important to try to find solutions and to look someone in the eye and to be honest with them. And Aries has no problem doing that. The problem is sometimes they do it out of anger or they misuse their fire. It comes out in an impetuous way. This is the shadow here. It comes out in a place that isn't empowering, but it just burns everything down. So that's what we've been learning as we've had the initial ingress April 17th, 2018. And it's going to retrograde out, come back into Aries, and then go forward again where it'll finally station direct April 14th, 2027. Now, it's important to note every single year that we have Chiron in Taurus, or we had it in Aries, it retrograded for 5 months out of the year, 150 days, approximately 40% of the time. So wow, we already have a wound that's not going away. We already have it festering and aching, and we're trying to figure out what to do with it. And now it goes retrograde. And that's where this energy that's inside of us, I think, when it's in retrograde, Yeah, we're looking at it deeper. You know why we look at it deeper? Because we're not behaving right with it and it comes out and we have these horrible moments where we misuse the wound because we've not learned how to deal and heal the pain. We've not found our solution, or we've not learned that we just can't bandage this thorn, this wound. We have to heal it. We have to look at it, right? Chiron often has issues dealing with boundaries. Think of that word, because he's sitting again, Saturn, discipline, rings, boundaries, Uranus, outer planet, hadn't seen it for so many years till 1977. First planet discovered, then Neptune, then Pluto, right? So we see this outer bound now type of energy that, wow, the collective energies of the world. Here we go. Very important to look at with Chiron. You are a product of your culture, hands down. What do I mean by that? I mean that you don't have a choice of what's going on in your culture when you are born. It is set, it is here. Either you have modern ways of living or you were born before electricity was invented, right? You have at your disposal that which surrounds you through Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, these outer trans-Neptunian planets away from what we can see in these inner planets of the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, bridge planets, Jupiter, Saturn, taking us out to the outer planets. So you don't get to choose who's president and what his rules and regulations and executive orders have placed down around you, ruling you. And all of this matters with Uranus and the time frame you're born and what angles and aspects it's making to your natal chart, which will speak in a way that it speaks to no one else's chart. Encourage you, if you want to look at that, I offer those readings. Check me out. You can find me in the description, my information. Go book a reading, and it would be an absolute privilege to help you with this. I am a survivor thriver of complex trauma, of sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, mental abuse, a father that was unstable at times, unpredictable. I had to navigate him. He was very violent towards my mother. And I am very grateful because I'm here to tell you that I was given a lot of support in my chart to be able to overcome this, and I had nothing to do with that. Okay, maybe I did, I don't know, but I've not seen where we do yet in my discovery and what I've studied, but I'm wide open, but I came in with a lot of trines that really were going to show that I'd be able to heal and overcome and implement that energy the right way. Now, that didn't come right away. Remember, we cannot heal what we reject. I have made mistakes in my relationships. I have fucked up, and I have tried to make it right where I have felt it was my fault in every instance that I can. But individuals that choose not to understand me and how I have spoken with them very clearly, I can't help that. And individuals that are choosing not to communicate, we all have those people maybe. I can't control that either. That's on them. But I sit here saying that I have done a hell of a lot of work, years of work. And I have practical knowledge being 62 as a mom and a Mima, as someone who's worked out in the world in a financial career, now a wellness career. And I can help, perhaps, bring some insights to you. So it would be an honor to do that. Now, we've got Chiron that went into Taurus, fixed Earth, Venetian-led, ruled sign. We have a whole different flavor. Taurus's mantra is I have. This is a cautious sign. This is a conventional sign. traditions here with number 5, major arcana card Taurus, the Hierophant. For a key and a clue here now of the energy shifting from the Emperor, where we were coming out in our authority, now we have the Hierophant. And what does the Hierophant hold? Look at the key card. On the Hierophant, he holds keys. He holds knowledge. This is energy that is determined and efficient and industrious and yin. It is introverted. It is where we now move from yang expression of the fire breathing dragon is a good example of Aries, where that fire just goes out. Now we're containing the fire. We're putting some stones around our fire, and we're not breathing up and out. We're breathing down and in. This is earth, feminine, yin, container holding, knowledge holding, wisdom holding fires. Very important to see this. This can be a very material type of time where you're looking at the material things around you and tying them into that second house of values, the second house of other people's money as it's opposite to the 8th of Scorpio, fixed water, and your deeper feelings and psychology about that and where you want to be with your money. And let us remember, Taurus ruled by Venus, wherever Venus is, currently in Leo, that will matter for this transit because it's its Lord. So you must be following Venetian transits for the next 8 years if you're looking at your Chiron, because that Lord is guiding Chiron, and anything that the Lord does with an aspect, with an object, a planet, an asteroid, a mathematical position you're looking at, that Lord comes into play. This is a layer that must be understood. So you have these general energies that we know are just occurring, but then it gets very specific as you begin to look at the Lord and where Venus is and how she's communicating. So physical reality here with Venus too in Taurus and those material resources. So financial systems are coming under the radar. This is important for such a time as this, as Uranus has gone into Gemini, and Uranus will be there for about another 6 3/4 years. So we also have a very long time. Uranus in Gemini, Chiron in Taurus, Pluto in Aquarius, Neptune in Aries, these outer planets and objects that are taking us outer bounds to look at what is happening collectively that's impacting me at this time and has to do with healing, financial stability, my fear of poverty, body dysphoria, and your connection to the physical body. After you come out of that first house, we're still in the underground terrain, and the lower part houses 1 through 6, where it's dark, okay, where it's all this yin energy happening during childhood. You're really not seen yet. You're not out in the public as an adult. This is, even though you're in public as a child, these are just the houses that are forming you, okay? And quadrant 1 is personal identity. It's your personal identity houses 1 through 3 of self, money and self-worth, and immediate environment and communication. So money and self-worth sit in that second house where Taurus lives. So we will see. I am calling it. We're also having the Uranus U-turn in the United States once it hits 8 degrees here. And we're going to see that go exact. We've had the Pluto return in the United States. Now we're having the Uranian return. And this is going to be very big, and I think that I'm calling it. We're going to see major movements in the financial system, and I think that this is going to start popping in July 2026 as I'm bringing another video after this one about the great pattern in the sky, a basket. I'll go into it deeper, that we're going to see forming that has never been seen before. We are under great reconstruction in those outer planets of fire and air. We had been in water, we had been in earth, and now things are moving very fastly. And this needs to be addressed. Our second house in the United States value health, and your house, and my house, and wherever Chiron sits in relation to that second house and the Lord Venus. So the wound here found in Chiron and Taurus is the worthiness wound of a scarcity mindset. It's fearful of what we're seeing it. The prices are right out of control. Everyone's seeing it. Everyone is talking about this. So we're seeing a great instability right now in the financial markets. And with the Iranian war, and now supposedly having negotiations, that has also affected the markets greatly with the oil, which has affected gasoline, and we've just seen this going on and on. So fear of poverty, also trauma of believing your value as a human being is strictly tied to your net worth. This is huge. Possessions, external productivity. Oh boy, this is big for earth signs. Like, you can relate to how good of a person you are by how much you got done. That's why you like lists. You are not what you do. Esse quam videre. To be rather than to appear. It's not how you appear and show up that dictates your self-worth. Although I would think a healthy self-worth would be able to show up in good ways, you know? But this is dealing with that. Like, as a child, after I came out of that portal wound, the first house, and I put my feet down and I touched earth, what was around me? Look at that second house. It's going to yield clues for you about what was around you, what was supporting you. And the Lord of that house says a lot about your scarcity mindset, your value, your self-worth, how you relate to others in your self-worth and your deepest psychology, and how you tie external productivity to self-worth. So we've got a decondition here. This is our medicine. The medicine for this wound is deconditioning from ancestral survival fears, where what you've learned and how you've learned to use money, how you've seen money, where money is gone. Like, this is all asking us to look closer at money when we're dealing with the Chiron wound. This is honoring the physical body. I talked about this when I talked about drinking good water, right? Or making your own concoctions and tinctures. Right now I have mimosa tincture, bark and flower going. And I will be straining that in 3 to 4 weeks under the moon, right? Under the best moon that I have, that I've chosen it for coming up. And there's something to be said about that, just working with the cyclical cycles of nature and how to tap. This is it, the root. How to tap the true flavor and medicine of the plant by drawing it out with alcohol in a tincture. It's crazy, right? If I were to sit and drink all that alcohol, oh my God, I would get so sick. But do you see how the poison of alcohol, the pain of your wound, it can be what heals you. When you sit and look at it, you can draw it out and you can apply the right medicine for you. It's according to your chart and the way that this is speaking to you specifically. Oh my God. That is so good. So refreshing. Okay, so somatic healing. Here's something you can be doing. The body is calling to be healed. There's a book I have here. I highly suggest you check it out. And it's The Body Keeps Score, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma, Bessel van der Kolk, MD. This is such a good book. I am still working my way through, but he says we are both psychologically harmed by trauma and have the power to psychologically heal ourselves. We hold the keys. And religion, one of the traditions that the teacher deals with in the second house, has taught us that we need to maybe go to someone else or go outside of our bodies or go into some higher state in our bodies, or, if I just get really drunk, I'll feel better. If I just sit here and smoke pot all day, I'll just get out of my mind and just be groovy, man. Listen, the cure lays in going in. And yeah, it can be someone outside who helps you to go in. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, everything inside you knows how to be set free by tapping into the knowledge and the wisdom of how to set it free, which you learn by studying this archetype and spending time with your chart and just figuring out your storyline. And you always have helpers. You always have healers. You always have trines and sextiles. They're there for you. Look to them. They're the helpers. They're that inner energy that is available to tap into and connect with that which is above, to that which is within, to that which is without. So Chiron's orbit is slow, and it spends 8 years reshaping our material foundations here. And look at hoarding in your life, because this is something Chiron wants to deal with, or where you have too much excess on you, right? It's where you've adorned your body, maybe. You've done too much with your body, maybe. You've put on maybe excess weight that is now bringing extra health problems to you. You're not moving your body. You're not training your body. All the Hierophant teacher lay in the 5 major arcana card, and the 5 lower cards. Take a look at the 5 of Pentacles, especially the 5 of Swords, the 5 of Wands, and the 5 of Cups. These are the areas of life in our daily life with others and with ourselves, shows up how this Chiron wound could be speaking to you. So put all the 5s on the table, light a white candle, sit down, take 3 deep breaths, do some somatic therapy and clear the mind and the body. Burn some sage, which is known to get 99% of bacteria out of the air and cleanse it. Yes, it does. And get in your space. Look at those cards and don't even try to figure them out. Your body knows the way. Just look at them. Look at the symbolism and start writing with your hand in a very physical way. Connect with your body and write down what it's speaking to you. I can promise you, you know more than you think you do. You know the way. You know the way. You just think that you don't. But you do. Trust the process of working with symbols in the subconscious mind, under the iceberg. You can't figure it out up here. You got to dip in, and you've got to look at those areas and spend time in those areas where you find solutions for the trauma. All right, so June 19th, 2026, it's at 0 Taurus. You see it there moving in, and its final exit will be May 6th, 2034. So again, it's going to go retrograde for 5 months every year. It's important to know when it stations retrograde. Go ahead and take all those dates. You can just look them up with a simple Google search and they will come up for you. So Chiron in Taurus, house transits by zodiac sign. Here we go. Going to take a deeper look. Look at how this long-term 2026 to 2034 transit plays out individually for you by putting the rising sign in your chart there in the first house, pull it whole house system, or your sun sign in the first house, which will give you your solar house dynamics. And if you want to know the difference there, it's important to understand that the sun deals with your solar power, right? With your will, with your individuality, with your rationality. It's your soul star, where you're aiming towards. It's where you have your self-esteem and your confidence is in the sun. All right, so put your, if you're a Capricorn sun, put your Capricorn on that first house. If you're born like me, a Scorpio ascendant, I put the Scorpio ascendant there. If you're born a Cancer sun, I put the Cancer sun there, and I read both charts. And it moves it to 2 different houses. You're going to see this, but it speaks very clearly in those spaces to you. And you'll see it come up very, very clearly. Aries. All right, this is occurring in your second house, the house I've been talking about, the house of money and self-worth, purchases, income, resources, objects. You're being asked to start getting more balanced in the way that you have seen resources, used resources, connected to resources, your ancestral connection to how you have done relationships with money and value and other people. Okay, this is personal finances, rebuilding them and auditing your self-worth and connection to them, healing an inheritance of financial lack, and redefining what true safety and personal assets really mean to you. You've got this occurring in the first decan of Mercury, which I want to talk about real quickly here. Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. So it's a very logical, rational, well, it's young, so maybe not so rational. He wants to be, but he wants to interact. Mercury is the messenger, after all, zips around the zodiac in 88 days. So with this being in the Mercury decan, this is asking you to be more logical. You've had some type of wound here that's really affected your self-esteem. And it's time to identify what is going on in your ancestral trauma with your value system and what you've tried to maybe cure in your own way, but it's going to cause you to now feel, Aries, something you really are challenged to do at times. You know, you have to get in that emotional space of water, which Aries does not like to do. This is fast thinking in Mercury. It's going to, be sociable, communication, learning. It's going to be helping you to show you what needs to be changed. And this energy is fast. So as it ingresses here, there's probably some messages coming to you at this time. Highly suggest that you take a look at those and that you understand very, very succinctly what this is about, because there is something coming up for you that's trying desperately to be healed regarding self-worth and your value systems with others. Now, Aries, you have a yod occurring, which is the finger of God. It's a pattern, and it points to a sextile, two positions in a sextile position that is harmonious at the base. Then there is a quincunx from that base going this way, which is 150 degrees, and it's a big ouch. And then there's another quincunx, so it forms a point. You can see it there in your chart. I'm pointing to it. And the base is the first house of Pluto and Aquarius. So Aries, this is the self. You're under some great transformation here regarding all things Aries and Aquarius, which is how you're seen in the collective. It is sextiling Neptune in Aries at 4 degrees. And that is, of course, you. There is an ability here, now not sextiling at 13 degrees, is Saturn holding. But, you know, Saturn is there here helping in this stellium. So you're really being asked to look at some things. It's being fixed in a beneficial way regarding your values in the second house. God is speaking for you to point and look at your 8th house. This is Virgo, and this is the South Node. The South Node is Ketu and the Moon conjunct. And this is looking at ways internally how you have served, how you have done your daily life duties, how you in your deepest psychology, 8th house, have been fastidious, maybe too much of a perfectionist, maybe too hard on yourself. You're supposed to be coming away from the lower vibrations here with K2 of things that did not serve you, where perhaps you've just been too hard on yourself. The good news is in the Mercury decan, Mercury rules Virgo, so you've got some power here. But it's areas in a quincunx, that K, you're not able to see because Aquarius has nothing to do with Virgo. And Aries has nothing to do with Virgo because Aquarius is a yang expression and Aries is yang, and Virgo is yin, earth. The elements are different. Air for Aquarius, fire for Aries. You see here, nothing in common, which means you are not looking here, you do not see it clearly, and there will be a finger of God coming into your life. There will be something that occurs here, very, very poignant, very, very profound and highly spiritual regarding your 8th house psychology. Ironically, it's opposite the second. So you also have an opposition, you see there, directly opposing you at 180 degrees, which is the nature of Saturn. It's where it is something you're having to look at square in the face. And I'm telling you, if you don't address this, it could be very, very challenging 8 years for you. So I encourage you to take a look at that. All right, let's move on. Taurus, for you, this is the first house, of course. So you are looking for deep somatic healing here, reinventing physical identity, where you are wanting to be remembered ancestrally for how you dealt with this Chiron. This is unburdening the body here of past cellular stress and showing up authentically without seeking validation. Not always easy energy. We see here that there can be it's occurring in the first decan of Mercury as well for you. So just like Aries, you're having to deal with the mercurial nature, which is asking you to bring some intellectual, not just yin going in, feeling, earth, as far as holding containers and building containers, But Mercury is air. And Mercury is Earth in Virgo, yes, but it's also air, where it's wanting you to move up into the logical spaces and start to look at things a little bit more clearer, especially in the way that you're expressing your body here. Mars is visiting you there as well. Now, there is a great deal of separation, and it's sextiling Mercury in Cancer at this. So that's good for you. That is definitely going to help you. But we do see your yod here, your yod showing up from Chiron over to that third house cusp of Gemini being ruled by Mercury, and unable to maybe see this seventh house last degree cusp 29 of Scorpio in relation with other people. That's the seventh house. Scorpio rules the eighth. That's psychology. It's fixed deep waters. So how have you been holding your waters in a scorpionic way in partnerships with others, which, would definitely be metaphysical, occult, dealing with shadow work, no doubt about it. It's asking you to look at that. It's pointing that 29 degrees a big ouch. Can I just tell you 29 is a very difficult degree? It's a degree that's anaric, where it's neither the butterfly or the worm. It's sitting in a state of flux, and all of the old codes are being broken down, and the new codes are structuring something, but it's that gel-like chaos that is taking place. So this Scorpio is going to be moving into that eighth house, and that ascendant is showing up there for you. So this is a very deep, 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 deep ask of you, down to the roots of your partnerships with others, in the way that you're using your fixed waters, and the way that you're doing it in a third house way, which would be your daily travel, your siblings, that's ruled by Mercury, that's Gemini, fast thinking, humor, sociability. Remember the shadow here for this, and what you're trying to, your deep sense of value in your body and understanding where to put yourself. The shadow here can be manipulation and being deceitful and acting like a child and being too stubborn and being suspicious and unfaithful and not honoring the keys of the Hierophant, right? The traditional things that you know to be true about your second house, about your Venus, about the Taurus nature, about your fixed earth that's being held, where you're able to take Venus and create these beautiful, beautiful expressions of love and magnetism and creativity, and your romantic sexuality is coming out here in your body, and how you interact with that sexuality in a romantic way with others. All of this is that thigh wound. It's all hitting you in this first house of the body. This is deeply personal, and this is not easy for you. So take a look at those yods. Take a look at these lower expressions that can come up for you, and find out how it is the best way for you, according to your chart, to look for those helpers and heal. Gemini, this is occurring for you in the 12th house. In the 12th house is secrets, hidden things, where we came from, the last incarnation of our ancestry. So this is a tie then of looking at healing, what's constricting you from your prior history, what you brought in, what needs to be healed, what you need to overcome regarding hidden enemies. It's hidden spaces here in the 12th of psychiatric units, of hospitals, of jails, of prisons. Therefore, places that maybe you're imprisoning your own mercurial Gemini nature here in the decade of Mercury, where your logical reasoning in the deeply Piscean house, this is ruled by Pisces, got to bring in that layer of Jupiter and Neptune, where maybe you're not seeing clearly, you haven't been able to see clearly of how your own subconscious programming of where you've come from and how you've done money and where you were in these past incarnations. It's all coming up for you to take a look there. And you've got the power to do it with that Mars there. It's asking you, hey, please consider this. Your second house is sextiling where Mercury sits, your Lord of Cancer, which rules the fourth, which is sextiling in Virgo there. So this tie of 12, 2, and 4 is going on for you. Now, your Yod is appearing from the cusp of the 12th to the cusp of the 2nd over to the cusp of the 6th in the 29 degrees. So you also have this huge shifting where things may not be real clear about the way that you're going to be moving into partnerships and relationships. There's going to be an ask and a change here going forward over the next 7 to 8 years. Down to your deepest roots, you may be moving in your home or you're thinking about it. It's on your mind, but you're not able to see clearly how your daily lifestyle, daily way that you serve others. This is Virgo's 6th house cusp of how you are using your Mercury in a logical way, and Mars and Pluto rule Scorpio, your deepest psychology, your deeper belief systems, because Pluto is up there in the 9th, so that's what it's speaking to. Just really about what really matters to you in your deepest recesses of your subconscious mind that really needs to be addressed at this time. So collective scarcity fears that maybe you've inherited and you've placed around you, and heal those psychological blocks, process ancestral trauma, engage in deep solitary spiritual work. Boy, this is really good for you at this time because Aries has Neptune there, and that's very pioneering energy, and you have an opportunity to go to the highest of the high. And Jupiter will be coming out of Cancer, going into Leo, fire. So Neptune and Jupiter working together there for you, ruling that 12th house. Cancer, this is very favorable for you as the water and earth go together. Cancer rising, transiting the 11th house. So the focus here for you is the collective energy and mending wounds centered on belonging and networks and friendships. Cancers, you've been going through it. This has definitely been an area for you. Now, I want to say this is really important. Your age matters here because some of us are older and we've gone through and healed and done a lot of work, and these themes don't apply as succinctly because of the growth. So how old you are and how you've worked with this archetype and your knowledge of it is going to greatly impact what you need to do in your life. And you'll know that as you're listening to this. But mending wounds on belonging and friendships and overcoming the fear of being rejected by groups and healing how you invest in collective visions. And for me personally, that has been under review the past year as I was asked to move out of a group and go into my own. My chart showed coming out of my own energy coincided with finishing my doctorate and doing my own business and getting more active with it and trying to help people in the wellness community. And in order to do that, I had to take time to really be focused and get that launched in a way that would work. So it's been a long process for me in that area. And my Chiron, remember, is in the 5th opposite the 11th. So because of some of the things and lessons I had to learn, I've had a hard time coming out in my authenticity of being seen for who I really am and letting people in. Like, because I've been rejected a lot, I'm just being honest, and I've shown up in groups where people I have Scorpio first ascendant and I have Black Moon Lilith there. And another thing that corresponds with this is jealousy and drawing out insecurities in other people and just being mistreated and being misunderstood. And that has really been a theme. And it's taken a lot of self-control, if I can be honest with you. But part of my healing has been that's not your place to do that on a scale of public. Why don't you just go to these people individually, meet with them, be authentic, and look them in the eye and just share how you're feeling? And you know what? That's a key. That's what Chiron demands. Esse quam videre, to be rather than to appear, and to show up exactly how you feel. And so that has been greatly healed in my life, and I'm very grateful for that. And now I'm not afraid anymore to do stuff like this where I just sit and just share my thoughts and I don't hide. And I do have worth, and that is what I needed to heal, was my glow and my magnetism in Leo. And that fourth house was really, really under a basket for a very long time. It was expressed in ways that weren't the best because I wasn't healed. And once I got restored and healed, it began to come out in much healthier ways. So it's really cool. I just want to encourage you. Like, I'm a real life example of the journey of the wounded healer. And I am so very grateful to Great Spirit. I am grateful for my angels. And yes, I am grateful for the darker forces that revealed themselves when called upon to do so I could address them. And I couldn't medicate them or run from them or reject them. I was forced to face them. And that is called shadow work. And until you do that, you're really not going to be able to see, like, these K's in your chart, these inconjuncts that you see that show up. You just don't see it. And it takes these outside events that shake you and put it right in your face. And some of us change and some of us don't. And obviously we can see which ones do and which one don't by the fruits that they are bearing. So 11th house, Cancer, you have a great opportunity here over the next 8 years to start to come out in true, authentic ways of who you truly are. And I call you as I am a Cancer Sun, a Cancer Moon, a Cancer Venus, a Cancer North Node, a Cancer Sappho, a Cancer Sirius, a Cancer Vertex, and a Cancer Hecate. And I operate in the energies of Cancer. And I just want to encourage you. You got this. Come out of your crab shell, allow yourself to be vulnerable, allow yourself to be seen. You have much to share. Leo, this is occurring for you in the 10th house. Oh, excuse me. Did I go over the yod for Cancer? I don't believe I did. Let's do that. The yod for Cancer is showing up in that 11th house cusp, and it's sextiling the 1st house cusp. So the 11th and the 1st work together. So basically your public communal energy of a legacy favorable house of joy, fortune, favor way coming out in your body, coming out in your portal, your physical body where you show up in your I am energy. There's an inconjunct there over to the 5th house. It's sitting there at 29 degrees, so you're ending a very deep psychological transit here like everyone else, where you're now moving into the 6th house energy in a completely different way. So it's closing a door for you on this 5th house healing. Now, I have Chiron there, and here I am. It's literally verbatim for me. I have closed a huge journey of Chiron, and I am on the other side, going to be 63 in about 3 or 4 weeks, right? July 19th. And I am super excited to share everything on Chiron that I can to help people through this archetype and point them to their own healing and truths. So very exciting. But perhaps there is a time here over the next 8 years where you might struggle with how to put that energy out and close that door and move into the next stage. Because remember, Cancer, you're ruled by the moon. That moon waxes and wanes. That moon is about protection and empathy and hospitality and instinct and imagination and safeness. So it's a challenge. You're having to look at where you have been held back from coming out and being seen in the greater collective. Leo. Leo is occurring in the highlight of the chart up there in the midheaven in angled house. Decan of Mercury, of course. So, hey, Leos, what's going on with you in the top of the chart in the midheaven, where the career is, where you have honor and where you have prestige and power, and where professional titles and public image and great visibility show up for you. So what's the message here? Transforming your relational career by transforming your relationship with your career. If you're in the midheaven here with Chiron, your relationships are going to matter because that's where people see you. You're up at the top in networking and in friendships, working with other people happens in the 11th, but you're preparing for it here in the 10th. And in the 10th, you've got public standing and authority. So, it's asking you to heal this pressure to look flawless and to look perfect, Leo, and to have your magnetism always all together. And it's asking you to rebuild your reputation through unmatched integrity. This is what Chiron wants, is true, unmatched integrity. Really being true to yourself and doing what you know is best for you at this time. And there'll be a microscope on this wound here for you over the 7 to the 8 years. And, Leo ruled by the sun, our awareness, our vitality, our confidence, our self-esteem, our willfulness, where we shine. As we're heading into Leo season here soon after Cancer, and Jupiter's going to be in Leo, you are going to have a large, progressive, huge ability to see a higher message to your career and a philosophical, it ties into, Jupiter ties into the bigger picture of things. And belief systems and spirituality and your truest identity with what you believe in, really. And that's all going to be wrapped up in that 10th house for you. The midheaven is an active house. The midheaven is a public house. So just know that this change will be seen as it hits transits and your own natal chart gets lighted by these transits, and I wouldn't say provoked, but there is a causation happening with the outer planets to the inner planets or anything in your 10th house that you have in your chart. Now this sextile is going from that cusp of the 10th over to the cusp of the 8th. And you see it there with Pisces and Taurus. So your higher aspirations, Pisces, rules the 12th. Your deepest, highest psychology with others. Like there's something being done here of a real psychological nature that's very beneficial. And it's going to bring you to a much more, I think, healthier, grounded, earthy, stable way of doing career and doing your psychology in your career. It's beneficial for you. Now, what you might not see here, though, is the way that the quincunxes show up. So values, how you serve in your values in a daily way, how your values with other people and money, what you make tie into that 10th house. The 10th trines the 2nd, and the 10th is sextile the 8th, so they're working together. And the 2nd is the house of values, right? Ruled by Venus, all about Chiron on the midheaven. So you definitely have an opportunity here to heal money, make more money, look at your relationship with money, and how you're going to have a real ability possibly to get that raise and make more money with Leo coming into Jupiter. You're going to have a whole year of this beneficial energy. Be careful here with the Sun in Leo and Venus. You can overindulge and maybe spend too much money or do too much. The Sun in detriment can be selfishness, and Venus in detriment can be excessive lust and hedonism and vanity and superficiality, and arrogance comes to mind. So just be careful with that. That's the shadow for you. Virgo. Virgo, this is transiting the ninth house of divination, spirituality, publicity, your belief systems, long distance travel and study, higher education, broadcasting, journeys, and the place of God. So Virgo with Taurus here in Chiron, your ouches, your belief systems, and maybe you've had some dogmatic belief systems that have caused some disruption with others. It is a ninth house where you're seen coming out of the eighth, where you've shown up in your beliefs and healing a crisis of faith and rewriting your old worldviews, like maybe seeing things through a different eye because maybe you've had some feedback or some things have occurred in your values with others or your exchange of values with others on earth. And now maybe you're like, I need to find the medicine for this, man. I need to go through looking at maybe a master or a guru or a higher teacher, or I need to pull in some profound teaching. Good news. That's what the Hierophant is here for you. The Five of Pentacles is huge for you. And it's trying to talk to you about the way that you're dealing with money, you use money, and you act with money. Five of Pentacles is a challenging card. I've always found it to be. I don't really like the Five of Pentacles, but it's going to give you deeper clues there, Virgo, about what crisis this is trying to heal for you. And if you look at where your yod is, your yod is from Chiron to the 11th house where Cancer is, and it's sextiling Taurus. So this is your belief systems and how you need to show up collectively as you launch from your home. And it has to deal with the moon and the way it waxes and wanes. So emotions, boy, this is yin energy of really you're trying to get some order here in the way that you've been experiencing and using this energy. In the next 8 years, you're being asked to put it out in a way that is more harmonious to you in the greater collective that considers the home and family maybe above your own interests. It is sitting there on the cusp at 29 degrees on the fourth house. You see it here very blatantly. Perhaps you're not seeing the way your dogmatic beliefs are impacting the home and your dogmatic beliefs in the collective where you're showing up are also impacting the home. The way that you're moving your energy about, you're being asked to look at the home right now. The second sextiles the fourth of Cancer, and in the second you have Libra, which is your partnerships ruled by Venus. So Venus is ruling that house. Venus is ruling your ninth, and Venus is sitting there right now in Leo, in your 12th house of the deepest psychology of where your ego comes up in your sun. And the sun is in the 10th house of your career, where you're showing up in public with your mouth and the way that you speak. And Uranus is there in the midheaven. Okay, this is not easy energy. I encourage you to be sure and take a look at that yod that's showing up for you. You've got a double yod over there, pretty strong too, from the 8th to the 6th, back over to the 1st. So Tough energy for you, Virgo. Not easy. The shadow of Mercury there can be manipulation and deceit. It can be suspicious energy. It can be energy up in the mind. You're thinking too much up in the mind about this. And you need to ground your thoughts now and ground it in a teaching and ground it in or some kind of master level understanding is being asked to come into your life. Libra, this is occurring for you in the 8th house, the house of psychology, the house of Scorpio. Not easy energy at all when it's in the 8th house. This is definitely healing up your values, your ancestral idea of money, how you saw your money in relationships, how you use your money in relationships, confronting vulnerabilities regarding shared resources, especially other people's money, intimacy with other people, sex, how you interact with them on a deep psychological way that ties to your values, your inheritances, and these undercurrents psychologically that are calling for you to be healed at this time. Vulnerabilities tied to trust and interdependence, how you rely on other people. This is going to be a time in the next 8 years where you begin to get some water under the bridge and you also get some wind in your sails. It's going to be tough initially, but you're going to come out of this and you're going to have an amazing opportunity because Libra, you're air. Gemini is in air. It is sextiling Neptune in Aries, and it is trining Pluto in Aquarius. You are going to have some opportunities to really heal what has been in a kind of chaotic situations for you regarding your money. Not been easy. We want to look at this yod going over from the 7th house cusp over to the 5th house, back over to the 12th. So, you know, you've got a deep psychological yin, feminine ask of let's heal. It's a healing once and for all, and it's going to happen for you. You're going to find a lot of support coming to your life, and it's super, super encouraging to see, Libra. You've been through some stuff. It's not been easy for you. You know, your love, creativity, your harmony, your romantic relationships, your virility, your action, and the way that you've been able to put that energy out has been very challenged. And you're going to see a break here. You need to know, and you're not seeing it clearly maybe right now, that there's a deep psychological change going on for you, and it's going to be highly beneficial. Just hold on. Stay the course. It's coming. Scorpio. Scorpio, this is occurring for you on the 7th house cusp here. And this is partnerships, other people, Venus, where your ruler is Mars. Now we got Mars and Venus. We have Mars and Venus. We have the male, the female. We have sexual love and romantic love. So Scorpio, you're going to be dealing with partnerships and the way that you've been using your partnerships. You're going to be processing relationship wounds here and how your relationships have been with other people and where you have found value in connecting with people, but it's not been the right kind of people. And, you know, the opposite of Scorpio is Aries. Pardon me, is Taurus. And so, you know, you already have Taurus here. So you're putting a double hit here. It's really asking you to clear some stuff up and do this finish healing for you over the next 8 years of dynamics of betrayal, dynamics of commitments, moving away from defensive mechanisms that maybe you strike up too quick and you hit with your tail, Scorpio, and you can get very defensive in those fixed waters. Pluto, what is it? Transformation, death, going down into the deepest caves of our psychology and digging around and finding the jewels and the gems that lay in those troubled spaces, because there's a reason you did what you did. There's a reason, Scorpio, you learned from this wound how to be the way you were, and you can unlearn it. Just like I quoted in that book, you can psychologically change, because neuroplasticity, the brain is able to make new connections and form new thought patterns that bring you into the space where you don't got to be defensive, and you don't got to go hide out in the cave. You don't got to defend yourself all the time, and you can be very honest now. And let me tell you, when Chiron goes through here, you are going to be honest. You are going to start speaking up, because Uranus is in Gemini. That rebel is speaking. It's in the 8th house for you. And it is going to be having a conversation. You're going to see a lot of Scorpios that have healed and done their shadow work start to talk about this stuff. I'm one of them. Here I am for such a time as this. I'm starting to talk about it in a more just casual way, and not such a teaching way, but getting in front, at times, and opening up and being vulnerable, man. That is not easy. It's been a long journey for me, but I know that as I do foster this radical honesty, and I have these steady interpersonal bonds with people of a healthy nature, people that really care about me, people that show up for me, people that check in on me and see how I'm doing. There's been people that have said that, but their actions don't prove that. And so I go by what you do, not what you say. Okay? To be rather than to appear, to really show up as who you are. Scorpio, you're going to be demanding this. You're going to be demanding it in yourself. You have a natural ability to heal there, and you're going to demand it in others. This yod is pointing up to your 11th house. It's coming down from that 6th house cusp to the 4th house. And it's pointing to your collective energy and where you want to be seen and show up in your deepest joy, your deepest offerings, your deepest commitments to society. And the 7th and the 11th trine, they work together. This energy is on point for you. You've got power to move forward. Honor what you're not seeing. Go in and ask for help with what you're not seeing, so you can honor this yod. And I can promise you, you will have much success the next 7 to 8 years. But let's look at Mars, and let's look at some shadow. Rage. Raging. Violence, destruction, aggressiveness, excessive pride, impulsiveness. Ooh, with Pluto, the destroyer, the absolute annihilator. Tread lightly, stay in somatic therapy, stay in mindfulness, feel the body, don't lash out. That is a warning. If anybody can do it, it's a Scorpio. I have seen it. I have Scorpio rising, and I have had to heal that energy in my own life. I had a very violent father, so this was just, I wasn't a violent person, but my brain thought it, right? So I had to get those images, like, you can't do that to people. You can't harm others. I'm just being painfully honest with you. Like, I didn't, because I fixed my psychology. But do you know how much work that took? And do you know how much I had to stay committed to it for it to become a key, a tool that I can use to turn a door that opens up success for me? There is nothing here on earth done without effort. You must remember this. You can meditate all you want, but if you don't put effort to it, you're never going to heal. You must make it an active commitment in your life, because that's what it takes. No one's going to do that for you the way that you can own it. Okay? All right, Scorpio, I'm going to move on. Let's go to Sag. Sag, this is occurring for you in your 6th house of daily routines. This is a big one. Where do you need to get organized? Where do you need to serve differently? Where have you placed your value in a place that maybe hasn't been valuable to you as much? This is not easy energy. And the 5th trines the ninth, your home. This is good. At least there's a trine there going back. The 6 squares the ninth. It is not a good aspect for you. So you're going to be in a situation where you're going to have to start looking at, okay, what do I do for my daily habits? What do I do every day with my hands? Where am I going out into society with my connection with others? Where am I serving? How am I serving? What is my health like? What's my digestion like? What are my daily work routines? What are my patterns of service? And how am I learning to integrate a daily discipline without treating my body like a pack mule? Oh my, do you know how hard Sagittarius can work? You guys are fire. You guys are Jupiter led. You guys are led by wisdom, evolution, optimism, justice, faith, and knowledge. You are out there like that centaur. Here's the good news. Centaurs know how to work with centaurs. Okay? They're working together. And this is asking you to look at your instinctual nature in your lower leg bodies and your ouches of where you've moved your legs and how you've gone out with your energy has created a wound of value related to your self-worth. You're being asked to switch the way you move your energy, Sagittarius. Whenever it shows up in the 6th, we're dealing with logical mindedness, asking you to get rational and to really think about this. Now, where is this Yod showing up for you? The Yod is showing up on the 5th house cusp to the 3rd house cusp, pointing to the midheaven, which is your career. Most definitely your verbal communication daily, where you travel daily, where you go daily is under reconstruction. So if you're feeling like, wow, maybe a move is coming or I'm supposed to change the way my feet are moving, this is definitely coming up for you. And it's sextiling over there to the 5th, which is helping you, Aries, but Aries is in Neptune. So you might not be seeing too clearly here. But I can promise you it's pointing to your midheaven, and Virgo's there. Virgo is where Chiron is sitting in his house. The 6th trines the 10th. I foresee a very huge change in money, career, job, and physical placement. And all of that is going to bring such healing to your life. It's going to soothe and heal something you've been trying to fix, but it just hasn't locked into place for you, but it's going to. So I encourage you, take the time to look at the way you're communicating. Take the time to look where's your body going every day? Where am I working? And how is this affecting my play? 5th house, my joy. 5th house, my children. Children rule the 5th house. How's it affecting all that in my daily life of where I need to show up and I need to be actively present, healing the wound of self-worth and healing how my daily habits impact that. All right, moving on. Well, let me say the shadow here for you is laziness, inconsistency, dissatisfaction in life, naivety, and disillusion. You could be so far out there, running around with those centurion legs, pulling back that bow, always shooting. You need to look down at very practical energy of the yin nature of the 3rd and 5th house of the lower chart, the nighttime where it's yin. Okay? Big ask for you this year. Next 8 years with that. Okay, let's move on and let's go into Capricorn. Here we go. This is occurring for you in your 5th house of children, joy, making love, your inventions, your creativity that you then shoot out into the greater collective, 11th house. This is ruled by the sun. So you have Venus and the sun working together here. Oh boy, does Venus like to be in the 5th house? This is money energy. This is changes with your children and money and values. This is asking you to look at the way that you relate with your children and others in the 5th house, and the way that you relate with the way you put your energy out in a very visible, bold. The sun is bold and willful way. It's asking you to look at maybe some of the fears that you have about putting your energy out there and unlocking some of your stifled creative fires that you've just been ignoring inside of you because of all this life happening. Capricorn, you've been going through it too, that you've had to deal with, but you got to recover the connection with the children, playful inner child. And you're ruled by Saturn. You can be so serious here, and you're being asked to look around your insecurities about that. And that ties to mothering, ties to parenting, ties to fathering, ties to romance, self-expression, joy, connections with kids. So again, the sun is awareness and vitality, your confidence, self-esteem, willfulness. And in the shadow, selfishness can be here, where it's a struggle for you maybe with the wound in the thigh of values and money, right? Dealing with Venus is money, in that it's ruled by Taurus already, okay? And she's trying to figure out money for you, and Venus is in Leo. So the Lord is working with you. Know this, that you have an opportunity of a huge nature to really bring some sunlight and sunshine into your daily life. It's not going to happen right away, but it's coming. It's a promise. If you focus and heal where your Chiron shows up and where it's limiting you in your life with where it is now in this transit, you're going to see that things are going to unlock for you. This yod for you, Capricorn, is the 4th house cusp over to the 2nd house cusp. This is money, self-value, other people's money, other people's relationship and money to your 4th house home. So you're literally in this great revolutionary change with Pluto in the 2nd there for you, with Chiron in the 5th. You are really being asked, Capricorn, to change. Your Lord is over there in the 4th at 13 degrees in Aries, pioneering, fixed. And you've got some high ideals and some high goals. Spiritual things are on your mind. Like, you want what's best for your family. I need you to know that Spirit sees this, sees your heart, Capricorn. And I know that you don't show it a lot, but it's really coming out in this Chiron. There is going to be such a beautiful healing for you with family, home, money, and children. And the way that you do your sexuality with others. Absolutely, hands down, this is coming for you. This is pointing to your 9th house, that yod. It's pointing up there to the 9th house of beliefs, because you are really wanting to land in a healthy philosophical place of what you believe in and how you're seen up there in your beliefs. And so you may not see that this is pointing you to seek maybe answers outside of yourself, and to be willing to go there in your creativity and tie into that. The 5th trines the 9th. It's working together there. And it's asking you to look, the 2nd and the 4th, how you might not be seeing clearly, how your greater philosophical beliefs are under the radar here. Like, this impacts more than the day-to-day living. This is a big one for you. All right, let's move on into Aquarius. Aquarius, this is happening for you in your 4th house there, and you are going to be experiencing the waxing and waning of the moon here, because it's ruled by the moon. And so you got the moon and Venus. You've got female relationships for sure. I have the moon conjunct Venus, so I, in my lifetime, have had a lot of relationships with women, just a lot of relationships. And some of them have been very, very beautiful and of a high magnetic nature. So there's an opportunity to tie in here to foundational home, life, childhood roots, maternal lineages, rebuilding an unshakable sense of this wound of emotional security from the roots up, of where you can be yourself, really, like rebel, Aquarius, Uranus, Aquarius. Where can you just show up and just really be you and come out in your authenticity? Taurus will illuminate vulnerabilities here, so it's probably been going on for a while for you, but it's a deep, deep ask for you to look at that. It's going to be active, that fourth house cusp of where you can really make some changes now to the very foundations and roots of your house over the next 8 years. This is pointing to the 8th house of psychology with this Yod, the 3rd and the 1st house cusp, pointing to the 8th. So your physical body is under transformation with Pluto in Aquarius, and it's in retrograde. Woo-wee, this is not an easy time for you, Aquarius. I get it. You must have a lot going on in your home, if I had to guess. And maybe there's some communication that's affecting your psychology, and you're not really seeing how to do this just yet with that Yod. And it's really going to propel you to a higher spiritual understanding of your truest psychological nature, of the way that you interact with others through your body and your home. That's the message for you. So remember, the moon can be a little irrational, okay? And it can be fickle, right? It waxes and it wanes, and emotional and excessive emotionality with Venus and the moon, where maybe in some of these relational feminine aspects of life, it hasn't been always easy for you. That's coming up for consideration. Venus can have excessive lust. She could go after things and be too magnetic and too out there. So, you might be wanting more than is really possible, or bringing more things in than you should, and you can get gout with this. So be careful. Hedonism, vanity, impulsiveness, where maybe you've just reacted too harshly in your family. These are all the wounds that could come up here. Pisces, you are going to have a 3rd house transit, and this is going to be occurring for you in that chatty mercurial home of communication, family, relationships, local community interactions, your mindset and habits, how you speak with your siblings, those dynamics on a daily basis, and really feeling to heal up when you have spoken out this need of being misunderstood, identified. Like when you've spoken, perhaps people have not understood you, and they just haven't seen the way that you really can tap in on the highest levels to these great spiritual truths that go so deep within you. And you've just had a hard time maybe being able to express them. And maybe you've had fear, a lot of fears there in your values. It's values with Chiron here, of money and expanding your money and sharing your money and making money for sure, in the daily houses of communication, where you have shown up on stage, right? Where you've daily shown up talking with other people with your technical skills, your logical skills, your writing, definitely your writing and speaking. So this can be here in the fall of excessive chattiness, and where you've been called out, and where you've shown up in spaces where it's not been healthy for you to speak, and you've misspoken. And we know this because Your yod is pointing to partnerships, and it's showing up in the house of psychology, the 12th, deepest, over to the second house of values. And so you're not able to really see clearly. You've got a lot of shift right now, Pisces, if you've been feeling that, with the way that you're going to show up in your sense of value, money, worth, hereditary understanding, what you've learned, what you've come from on a daily basis with your logical speech. Whew. This is a lot, but that is all what is up for you at this time. This is a mutable house, the third house. It wants to exchange energies. Venus can make you money here. Venus with Mercury can bring out where maybe you've been afraid to come out and talk about the things that you have made and the things that you have done and the time that you have spent working on your deeper psychology now, and knowing that that work has a last path for you to clean up and hone and then come out with. Because Pisces, you see and feel and sense things, and you are so sensitive. And being ruled by Jupiter and Neptune, that energy can be so expansive that you're not sure how to deal with it. And if you don't have a way to somatically, remember Taurus is the body, is earth, ground this energy, it's going to be really, really challenging for you. So with that, I am going to close. I want to share from the book, The Chiron Effect, Healing Our Core Wounds Through Astrology, Empathy, and Self-Forgiveness by Lisa Tahir, licensed counselor, social worker. It's such a great quote, and I want to read it. And she's talking about boundaries here. This is on page 4 under Introduction. The first house relates to our physical body and our personality. The second house has to do with our finances and moral value system. So if Taurus rules the second house, keep it in there. Keep it in the structure of finances. This is money, people. This is money, money, money. And your moral value system, how you make money. The third house deals with communication, siblings, and childhood. The fourth house pertains to how we were nurtured and conditioned, our home, both family of origin home and our current home. The fifth house relates to creativity, romance, legacy, and play. The sixth house has to do with work, health, and our routines and structure. The seventh house addresses contracts, both intimate, marriage and relationships, and professional. The eighth has to do with power, sex, and other people's money. The ninth house involves religion, philosophy, foreign travel, and education. The 10th house has to do with career, reputation, and image. The 11th house is all about friends, groups, associates, and community. And lastly, the 12th house has to do with the unconscious mind, shadow self, addictions, jails, hospitals, and spirituality. Like a raw nerve, the house placement of Chiron describes what part of our lives we might edit or hide for fear of being rejected or not accepted by others. Chiron's house placement also reveals the areas of sensitivity where we are triggered. Expect triggers, especially if you have, where Chiron is transiting, aspects of planets hitting, angles hitting, other mathematical positions, asteroids hitting that space. Like a soothing balm, Chiron's placement in one of the 12 houses has the potential and the power to heal our negative reactivity to both the outside world and within ourselves. Chiron will show you your deepest wounds and where you can take that wound and you can serve others. Because at the end of the day, Chiron was a servant to the masses. Blessed be, it'd be an honor to serve you. Let me know if I can help and just reach out. Take care.